got into skiing through a lot of like visual representation in media and marketing, random little like movies like Johnny Tsunami and like Rocket Power, and was just like really, and then like watching the X Games based off of that. I personally identify as a disabled person of color. I have a right leg amputation, and I'm also South Asian. I'm Indian American. I do, love mountain life and being able to connect with the mountains and hills around here and throughout the US and the world. I definitely see the mountains as a support for my own mental health as well as physical health, and also a way for myself to build community. Bozeman seems very variable when it comes to snowpack, and also like incredibly impacted by like avalanche danger as well. So when we are getting a lot more of that heavy snow based on different temperature gradients, it's starting to impact a lot of that snow travel for humans as well as animals to, travel safely through the mountains, to be able to connect with our natural landscapes. I was working at Vermont Adaptive at Sugarbush ski area. I was on a lesson with another individual. I believe he has Down syndrome, and he was being tethered from the tips of his skis so he wouldn't, go ski out of control or hit something, or, be a little bit more in control and be able to stop with the assistance of a volunteer holding on to those tethers. And we were going down this green run. For many skiers that are skiing all the time and whatnot, like it's most people look at it as like a run that gets us back to the lodge. And he was having the time of his life, like just like hooting and hollering and dancing and like screaming and just like, having that sense of freedom we kind of get from feeling that sense of belonging and validation of who we are. So I was noticing that, and I was like, this isn't really about the skiing. It's about the feelings that we get from these activities. And I started connecting that to my personal life of like, okay, the way I get that feeling is, I do these more extreme things, but it's still like a very similar feeling of belonging and validation and freedom. Environmental justice also equals disability justice, and vice versa. A lot of disabled folks are very, very much impacted by a lot of injustices that happen through climate change. When like large power surges happen, like hospitals have to go on backup generators, and a lot of sick and ill people are able, get impacted heavily if they're on these, life support systems. So, noticing a lot of that happening within the disability community. And it wasn't just about, going skiing and whatnot, but also talking about like the other barriers that they were running into, whether it be like a wheelchair user having a really hard time navigating Bozeman streets when it's super snowy. Like we have the financial resources. A lot of it, unfortunately, goes into different places in communities like this, but we have a lot of resources to be able to plow these streets and make sure that they're clean for people to be able to access, even like, going from their door to their car. So like, little stories like that started connecting me with the environmental justice movement as well. As an athlete, bringing back that storytelling side into a lot of the narratives that I'm trying to share and other athletes are trying to share is gonna, I think, create more relatable conversations for everyone to be able to connect to issues around climate change or protecting wolverines. Our words are super powerful when it comes to building relationships. So understanding what words and what language really works with certain communities is super helpful in building that. A lot of the solutions to the problems that are impacting these communities are in the communities themselves. The people in these more marginalized, underrepresented, disenfranchised communities know what the solutions to these answers are, but they just haven't been, given that voice or platform. But just being upfront and just being open, actively listening, having no assumptions, and giving marginalized voices the power that we deserve.